The following podcast is intended for mature audiences. If you enjoy our work, please like, comment, subscribe, and follow the links in the description. Thanks for your support, and enjoy.
Greetings and salutations, listener. It is I, Eric J. Chucky, joined, as always, by the boy, Be the Boy.
Hey.
This is the Two Nerds Podcast. God, where to start?
Let's go over this one more time.
So, today, we saw Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, so, you know what? I feel like this is a brand new movie, and we're recording it really close to when it got released, actually.
Yeah, for once in a long time.
So, we actually should bring back ye old, like, spoiler-free review.
Okay. Probably not going to do, like, a whole bunch of silence, but after you've heard our thoughts on the matter, that's probably when it's time to go away.
Yep.
If you don't want spoilers. So here it is. Ye old spoiler-free review. I thought it was pretty good. I didn't think it was better than Homecoming, but I really liked it.
I think it was a very, very different movie than Homecoming. I don't know that I'm prepared to compare them at the moment, because I'm still fresh off that, new movie hype. I really enjoyed it, and the real world might suck, but when it comes to entertainment, I live in the best of all possible worlds. All I want for is a decent DC live-action universe.
I'm holding out hope for Stan Lee's Batman. That'd be pretty sick. Maybe now that what's his name? Cole something or other? Mike Coulter. Now that he's not doing Luke Cage for a little while, maybe he can go be DC's Batman. So, now into the spoiler-y section. Peter Parker dies.
Yeah, in like...
I told you to fucking leave.
In like the first 10 minutes of the movie, maybe 15.
Yeah, it might be even longer than that, I don't know, but it's pretty early.
Peter Parker dies. I mean, we get another Peter Parker in like 15 minutes after that, but still, for a while, it's looking pretty bleak. They actually set this universe in a universe that is like Spider-Man's Golden Destiny universe, where everything went right for him. And he was a blonde, beautiful man, and him and Mary Jane worked it out, and he's a grad student, and everything's going well for him, and he loves being Spider-Man, and everything's great. And then Kingpin caves his chest in.
That's going a little deeper directly into the storyline than we usually do.
It bears mentioning, though, because it affects the story.
Sure, it does.
It affects the story, it affects the shape of the narrative, because the Peter Parker Miles meets immediately offers to help him, and, like, immediately says, I'll show you the ropes, and we'll get together, and it'll be great. I'll teach you to be Spider-Man. And then he dies, like, 5 minutes later. So when another Peter Parker from, like, a universe where things didn't go so well...
it was basically like the regular Marvel universe, except
Satan wasn't
involved. Instead of Satan, it was just divorce.
Yeah, instead of them selling their marriage to Satan, shit just got hard and they got divorced because sometimes that happens. So, like, this Peter Parker's older. I think it mentions he's in his, like, 40s or something. Maybe late 30s.
I think he was in his mid to late 30s, yeah.
He's been Spider-Man for, like, 20 years, so he's got to be at least 36. Mm-hmm. And he's a little out of shape, and he's a little grumpy. He plays a perfect grumpy, reluctant mentor. The other additions to the Spider-Verse are great. Nicolas Cage was Spider-Man Noir, which I did not know.
You didn't notice?
No, I didn't know anything about this movie.
Oh, really. No, yeah, I'd heard a couple of things before going into it. Not a lot, though. In fact, I'd heard exactly two things. Nicolas Cage is Spider-Man Noir. I suppose 3. Gwen Stacy's in it, like Spider-Gwen, Ghost Spider.
Spider-Woman in this.
In her actual comics, she called herself Spider-Woman until the multiverse thing happened, and then she's like, well, I mean, I'm going to need a different name because
there's already one of those, and she flies and shoots lasers.
There's actually like 4 of them.
Yeah.
And that there was a small Spider-Man 2099 reference, which I thought I'd missed.
No, it's just a post-credit scene.
Yep.
which is a good post-credit scene, and then they made it into a meme because this isn't trying to create a cinematic universe, so they don't really have to take post-credit scenes super seriously, and Spider-Ham was already in the movie. So, also, just side note, this movie managed to have Spider-Ham, played by John Mulaney, wonderfully in it, and be really, really emotionally, charged at certain points.
I got choked up a lot, my guy.
Shout out to Mahershala Ali for being in just fucking everything good in Marvel that requires, a very nuanced performance. Because Uncle Aaron, or Prowler, in this movie, spoilers if you don't know that, which
I didn't, man.
Literally did not know that Miles Morales' uncle was the Prowler.
I didn't, I didn't pick up on a lot of the Miles Morales stuff. I like him. I know he's got different powers. But I just... That was during the period where I kind of dipped really hard out of comics when Ultimates was going off real hard, you know? So, I'd never learned any of that.
And so, he does amazing as Uncle Aaron. All the voice acting in this movie is really good. Even John Mulaney as Spider-Ham is doing a great job.
I thought it was a really good choice for the performance.
I was not expecting Nick Cage. The first time he talked, I was like, that's a... Wait a minute. And then he talked again, and it was Nicolas Cage, and I went, wait a minute! Didn't really take me out of the movie, though. Liev Schreiber did a decent Kingpin.
Yeah, he's a decent interpretation. I liked it well enough. I liked the Kingpin in this movie had big fat shoulders. Little tiny head. That very classic design style. But
you know what? Because he wasn't around for so long, I didn't notice. I thought maybe he was just doing a different voice. Old Peter and young Peter have different voice actors.
Mm-hmm.
That's neat.
Yeah.
Peter Parker is Chris Pine, and Peter B. Parker is Jake Johnson. That's neat.
What a Stanley name. Good news, everyone. I've reincarnated. I'm Jake Johnson. There we go. I was happy with the voice acting. Let's talk for a second about the art style they went with.
Yeah, I think that's worth mentioning because it was so good and so interestingly made. They did a lot with art direction and changing art style to evoke different moods. They did a really good job with that.
The only things I had an issue with were sometimes, and this may have literally been something that happened in the theater, but sometimes it looked like that we were watching the 3D version without 3D glasses.
But not a modern 3D version where it's just blurry. Actually old-style anaglyph 3D, which I think is actually intentional.
And it might have been, but it had a weird sort of... I don't know, it just had a weird effect that I didn't care for as much. But I really did like a lot of the visuals. I mean, the animation style, which I understand Sony's trying to copyright, because it's so unique.
An interesting move. I don't know that I'm in favor of copywriting an art style.
I don't know that it'll fly, but they're trying.
But I really liked it. So whether or not they manage to copyright it, you psychos, I hope they continue to make more. And I would not mind another movie in this universe.
Well, it's a good thing because they're making another one.
Good, because yay. Because that's I mean, they set it up a little bit, you know?
Let's see here. It's going to be a Gwen Stacy movie.
Oh, dope.
With Jessica Drew and Cindy Moon.
Yeah, dope.
Yeah.
Set after this, I assume, yeah? We don't need more origin stories. They made a joke out of that in this movie. About all the Spider-Man movies being origin stories. They literally gave every Spider-Man an origin story in a little tiny mini movie. And
it was a fun running joke.
It was a fun running joke. But yeah, they literally make a joke out of the fact that we don't need to see Uncle Ben die again. No one needs that. We all know. Everyone. There are uncontacted tribes in the middle of the jungle who, if you show them a picture of Spider-Man, will go, Uncle Ben died. And that's the only thing they know in English.
I would like it if there were a funny Spider-Man parody, mini movie or something, where, like Uncle Ben's taking Peter wherever he needs to go, and he's like, Peter, let me tell you something, because I'm going to die in like an hour here. Great power, great responsibility. Be a good kid. Okay, bye.
Or like a thing of Spider-Man, like a Spider-Man thing that starts normally, but then Spider-Man gets home and Uncle Ben is alive, and that's the first clue you have that something is very wrong.
Oh, yeah, nice. Which they did in this movie as well. The core universe we're in, because they didn't separate it into like Ultimates or whatever, was very slightly different from the regular, the universe we're familiar with. And a lot of it started out seeming like, oh, this is just, avoiding copyright issues with ads and brand names and things like that. But then there was other small things, like the New York Police Department was instead the Police Department of New York.
Just very tiny stuff that you would just sort of look past. And you wouldn't really notice a huge, like, it wouldn't be glaring to you, but then...
Well, and like the fact that Spider-Man in that universe was blonde.
Yeah. Peter Parker in the golden, super everything went great for him universe is blonde.
And at first, even still, I was like, weird choice.
Yeah, okay, weird choice. You know what? I'd seen the previews and I saw that Peter was like brunette in that, so I don't know why I didn't make the connection.
Same. I don't know that I ever watched the trailers, but like I've seen a still, so. Yeah, I don't know, man. This movie was kind of like, it was really fun. It had a lot of surprises. It had really good pacing.
It had really good interpretations of at least a couple characters I really like. And I don't know that I can highlight it more. I live in a universe with a really, really good, big budget Miles Morales Spider-Man movie in it. What timeline is this?
It's a good one.
And like,
seriously, I would like to use our magic podcast powers to get a Stan Lee's Batman movie made. Anybody listening out there?
Yeah, I mean, look, if I can just magic up all the Black Panther movies and Wonder Woman movies and Miles Morales Spider-Man movies, I don't know about Stan Lee's Batman.
They're making a Swamp Thing TV show, man.
They're making... Oh, gee, all right. I'd also love $1 million. I gotta try it. I gotta try.
Yeah. I'm really thrilled about this movie, but I'm not sure like how to communicate it. Like, honestly, as much as we were like, do the spoiler-free review version, like the best advice I can give is, listener, go see it.
Yeah, it's in theaters. It's definitely visually stunning enough to be worth going to see in theaters.
I would agree with that. I really loved the expressions they nailed, and the smaller movements were just really well cataloged. Like anime Spider-Man being anime and having fewer frames of animation.
God, you noticed that too? Yeah, that was amazing.
That was so, like, little tiny attention to detail. There's a point at the end where you see Gwen in her own universe. And, like, the art style they use is the same art style they use on a lot of the covers. And, like, it's fucking 3 seconds of animation tops.
And it's 3 seconds of animation time, and it's the same art style that Gwen is in. Because she's in a very slightly different art style than Miles.
But yeah, it's so slightly different.
And then, Spider-Man Noir. He animates differently than Miles or Peter or Gwen. He moves like the character from one of the Spirit movies or Sin City.
Yeah. It was just man, it was a super cool ride. I loved the soundtrack as well. Yeah,
it was like a couple of them like good soundtrack songs, and also there were a couple just really genuinely good songs.
Mm-hmm. In terms of animation, the movie gets bonus points from me for animating Kirby Crackle.
Oh, yeah, it did.
Yeah, it sure as fuck did.
Like, the interdimensional effect was Kirby Crackle.
That entire last fight was like, that was what the last fight in Black Panther should have been.
Agreed.
Like, something that was that big of a spectacle to match the kind of emotional stuff that was going on. Like, man, the acting and the dialogue and all the choices made were so good. They felt so real and so natural. The delivery was so organic. Like,
you even, like, they don't reach the Netflix show's heights of it, but you even were able to sympathize with Kingpin.
Yeah.
Like, he had and the Marvel Netflix series aside, it's really easy to make Kingpin a very two-dimensional villain, and they even gave him a really understandable reason. Now, they had a two-dimensional villain. It was the Lady Doc Ock. But
I think the implication for her stuff is in the backstory of the character that we don't hear on screen.
Right.
Like, if I'm remembering my comics lore correctly, and it's hard to keep track of because there are 1,000 Spider-Men.
They collected the greatest hits here, but there are more. I want the sequel to have Ben Reilly in it.
I was kind of missing him too. But yeah, just like, and she was a cool villain. Like, they did her really well, and I mean that was another.
I liked her little squishy tentacles.
Yeah, they were kind of cool.
Her little inflato tentacles.
I really liked the animation on her hair too. That was kind of neat.
Yeah,
it still felt in universe, but it looked really real. And a lot of the choices they made for scenes, like the autumn forest and stuff like that, like just really, they didn't have to make it pop, and they did, and I love that. You know what I mean? That's
kind of a good watch phrase for this movie. This didn't need to be a good movie. This movie exists to keep the copyright on Spider-Man characters. But they made it one anyway.
I don't know if it's existing to keep the copyright on Spider-Man characters, but it definitely exists to squeeze the life out of that copyright until Disney goes, fine, here's the money you want. Because they've got a bunch of other movies coming out that are in, the Spider-Man universe as it is, the Sony Spider-Man universe.
I like that the movie opens with references to the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies.
Yeah,
not so many references to the Andrew Garfield ones, but the Tobey Maguire ones get some references, and I appreciate that. Even you can tell by the way I use my walk.
Yeah, that was a pretty funny scene. I was glad to see that.
Spider Dune buggy makes an appearance, just so. And like Spider-Man has a spider cave, a spider bat cave in Aunt May's shed, and that's great.
I'm glad they're doing a sequel as well, because like, I really could have seen more Spider-Men.
There are more Spider-Men.
There are plenty more.
There are so many Spider-Men, you guys.
So I'm pretty amped for this. Like, and this is what I've always said. I don't care who has the licenses to the movies so long as you're making good movies.
Yeah, I'm not loyal to Disney. It's, if you make good things, I'll watch your movies. The reason I haven't gone and seen any non-MCU connected Spider-Man movies is because, since the Tobey Maguire ones, is because they look like garbage.
I kind of want to watch them now that it's safe.
I don't.
Like, just to know.
Like, just now that you know you're not going to be creating more of those movies.
Yeah, now that threat has passed.
You're not voting with your wallet anymore. I don't really, but...
Same thing for the DC movies that we decried a lot. Well, that's over now, so...
I mean, we're done, so it's safe to go see how right I was now. I don't have to worry about... I don't want to make them think that I want more of these.
You know what else is a good thing to mention? And maybe this was just trailers, I could be wrong, but like in comparison to the other kids' movies that seem to be coming out, this was a good movie.
It didn't talk down.
No, and the rest of those films we saw in the trailers were just like the lamest, dumbest, using tropes that were bad when I was a kid. And like bad actors.
The How to Train Your Dragon movie looked fine. I just don't give a shit about
sure. I just don't care about that franchise. I mean, that's absolutely fair. That looked like an interesting movie if I gave a shit.
But I don't, so it's not. No. But the others were just like, The Kid Who Would Be King is something we saw a preview for.
And the sad thing is, I could see that being good. It just isn't. That's a decent premise. It just doesn't execute. It does the dumb, lame jokes on a direct-to-video 90s movie. Like...
Yeah, I couldn't have nailed down the exact vibe I got off that movie more.
And then that cute dog movie. Like, I was worried it was going to be another Marley and Me. And then it was just...
No, they just showed us a 30-second short film.
Yeah, they showed us a 30-second short film. I believe I said in the theaters, that was a good flick.
Which is fine, that's all I wanted, because... Oh boy, no, I know the end of the other movie that guy made. The other movie being A Dog's Purpose. Motherfucker. I'm not going to see We Killed the Dog. The movie.
I mean, like, at the same time, please, in your trailer for Homeward Bound, not show the final scene of Homeward Bound. Sucks a lot of the emotional depth out of it, you know?
Yeah, but at the same time, there've been enough Marley and Me's, and
That's
the guy
fair.
who made
That's fair.
A Dog's Purpose.
That's
that
fair.
maybe they felt they had to show the final scene to know, so that the audience would know that it was safe to go to that
We're going to
movie.
just go ahead and put the final scene in this trailer because we'd like to make some dollars. Is that fine?
We'd like to make money. We'd like for everyone to know that they can come to this movie and not walk out a wreck, an emotional husk.
What was the other film? Lego Movie. I haven't seen the first one, so like I'm sure a lot of the context I'm violently missing. It looked humorous.
I never really gave a shit about the Lego movies, so...
The first one looked okay. I was mildly interested. Let's not get into the rest. We made a podcast on the Lego Batman movie. You can go listen to that.
Yeah, we're talking about a movie I like.
Yeah, we sure as hell are. Also visually stunning, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, there is so much I want to highlight about this movie. So much I want to talk about that I don't want to Guardians of the Galaxy
I
about.
really liked the Prowler's noises. I really liked it when he showed up. Like, shit changed, and he made that fucking Reaper noise.
Yeah.
And, like, it was just really cool. This whole aesthetic shifted. And they all did shit, Dutch angles, and, man, they had stuff that was like aliens, and it was just really cool. Like...
He saw in Predator Vision.
Yeah, it was really...
He saw in Vaporwave Predator Vision. Vaporwave Reaper is who the Prowler is in this movie.
I also liked when alternate universe Spider-Man showed up. And he's like, "No, Miles, I will not teach you how to be the Spider-Man." What he immediately does is teach him how to be a Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because they do this thing, and you'll see it if you see the movie, or if you saw it, you'll be like, "Oh, he's going to talk about the thing." Where Peter walks out and, like, vertically walks down the wall and up the next wall, like, between buildings, and Miles follows him. And he's, like, struggling at first, but then he's just doing it. It's subtle.
And then when he stops following him, Peter actually looks back like, "What are you doing?" And I love the line, because the line is, "Making you feel guilty. Is it working?"
It's good. There's a lot of good lines. It's a quotable film. I like Miles' dad a lot.
I like Miles' dad a lot. He's a good, upstanding man. They did Kid and Dad, who doesn't quite connect to Kid, in a really nice way. It wasn't really fresh material.
No.
We've seen that particular relationship done almost exactly the same in 1,000 movies, but they did it really well. And there's something to be said for that, because they also did a lot of new stuff in this movie. And I really, really enjoy so much of what they did. Like, I like how they animate not just her art style, but Gwen, Ghost Spider, because I'm just going to end up calling her that.
I mean, it's her official name, so.
Moves like a dancer.
Oh, like a fucking ballerina she does.
Everything she does, she's moving like a dancer. She's moving like a ballerina. And that's such, again, it's one of those, they didn't need to put this much effort into this movie, not even for me to enjoy it. Like, they could have gone way lower effort, and I would have loved this movie. But they didn't. They really seem to love the material, and if you've listened to any amount of this podcast, you know that, along with not being afraid to be what you are, is the quickest way to go, is the quickest path to my heart, is the quickest path to me loving your thing. Is attention to detail, showing that you love the source material, and turning into the skid. And they did all of that.
I think, yeah, the little details, like smudges on things, the way, Miles moved a lot. A lot of how he moved was really exceptional. The facial features, like I said before, the movements, the expressions, subtle shifts in mouth presence. I don't know, man. I could just read him, and because it's an animated movie, better than an actor. You got to have those exaggerated cartoon facial features with some semblance of realism, because it's not like a wacky, the exception of Spider-Ham. It's not like it's a wacky movie, but like, you really conveyed all of those emotions that like an actor might even struggle with, you know? Just the face acting on those rigs. Mwah. Insert fucking llama movie.
Pacha.
Yeah.
Insert Pacha. Insert John Goodman being happy.
Yeah. Dug the hell out of it. Man, like, I don't want to go Line-O-Rama, right?
Yeah,
you know,
it's one of those things. We're trying to avoid Guardians of the Galaxy in this podcast.
All right. So let's do the thing.
Okay.
I don't know if we can. What didn't you like about this film?
Ooh. You know, fresh from the movie like that, I haven't had time to really... Well, then again, there are some movies I know walking out exactly what I didn't like about this film.
Same. Like iBoy.
Yeah, like iBoy. There's not a lot. Even stuff I do usually find bothersome or annoying in movies. They did really well here, and I don't feel like getting into the details on what that was, but I guess I would say that while it was great for the movie that it was, I feel like I've been spoiled by the Netflix TV series. I could have used a Wilson Fisk who was a little more genuinely intimidating.
That's interesting. Yeah,
and this one managed to successfully murder Spider-Man, and I still could have used him being someone I felt scared of.
Yeah, that was... They went kind of an interesting route with that, because he's like... Because he hides behind goons so much through most of the movie, obviously that's a narrative device to keep your big bad safe, you know, until
protected,
the end.
So the fight is cool.
But it's that weird thing where you don't know what to do with your, you know, like are they basically
if he hadn't been doing, and I liked the performance, and I think it was a good choice, but if he hadn't been doing the "yeah, you gotta go down to the docks, there's a guy down on the docks, I'm a New York Goomba" accent, I think it would have been better. I think that exact same portrayal with a different accent would have been fine.
Like the Spider-Man animated series accent?
Yeah, that would have been fine.
Just a little more direct.
A little more direct. He was kind of British in that, so, I mean, if he had just been doing a standard American accent, it would have been fine.
The accent didn't bother me much. It was really, and I'm stumbling over my words here, but it was,
it's very classic New York.
Sure,
there's nothing wrong with it.
I didn't hate it.
I am picking the tiniest of nits here.
Right. I mean, same. I think, but I agree with you that Kingpin wasn't as threatening as he should be, and it's just because, like, it was, why did he have goons? If he's this tough, why does he have goons? Why does he bother telling somebody else to handle his problems when he can handle his problems? And, like, it made it a little bit of sense.
And you can do that really well with Kingpin. The Netflix series do it really well. He has goons because he wants to keep his plausible deniability intact.
Right.
And for other reasons. And he needs to be physically intimidating. It's the performance needs to have menace to it. That even when he was menacing people, I didn't feel.
Yeah.
Anything else that I could think of that I didn't like?
At the same time, it was like at tops rated PG. I mean...
Yeah, there's only so much they could do.
There's only so much you can do.
I mean, they did have him shoot a guy to death and crush a man's chest, so they did good with the amount they have.
Sure, I will agree. He also had the only swear of the movie. He said hell.
No, that is not true.
Oh, somebody else swore?
Yeah, they gave their big PG swear to Ghost Spider, actually.
Wow, did I just miss it?
Yeah, you did. So, I might have misheard it, but to my recollection, you know, I think it was Spider-Man Noir's getting shot, and then, like, the anime Spider-Man jumps in and, like, deflects bullets, and they're all fighting goons who are shooting guns, and then you hear Gwen... These guys are pissed.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, I think I do remember that. I also am almost positive there were a couple of times where they barely obscured some fucks. There is a point where alternate universe Peter Parker is yelling into his coat, and I'm pretty sure part of it was... But, anyway, yeah, I think Kingpin was probably the weakest part of this film, ironically.
And he was good.
He was still good, yeah. That's... Like, it wasn't the most amazing film in the world or anything. Like I said, I liked Homecoming.
No, it was a good movie. It was a good movie.
But it was worth my whatever amount of money we paid for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Hands down.
And I would recommend you guys go watch it too. And then you can make your own rambling podcast.
This one was a little rambly because there's not a lot to discuss. It's a good movie.
And its pace is so fast that it never really lets you linger on anything for too long. And in a good way. Like, its pace is even. Because, you get a few seconds to go, oh, what a sad moment. And then something funny will happen. And that's okay. It's the refresher. It's not like a...
it's not that joke at the end of Thor Ragnarok.
Sure. So, I definitely would recommend checking it out. Tell your friends.
Absolutely same. Mm-hmm. Take your friends. Go watch this movie. They're making another one. Good. Go watch that one too. We live, in terms of entertainment, because this is a fun, happy place, the Two Nerds Podcast, we live in the best of all possible worlds. And I would like to keep that going.
If only because it lets us sit here and talk about it.
He's really trying to get me to end the podcast, everybody. All right, fine. Everything's better when nerds talk about it.
Fuck it, let's go home!